storm-racked island shrine held the offerings of the faithful, and a starving boy who dared to steal from the gods. For 5 years, Sho had lived on scraps, but tonight his empty stomach screamed louder than any fear of divine punishment. He slipped inside and grabbed a bag of rice from the altar, his trembling hands threatening to spill his crime into the torchlight.
They saw me.
Torches blazed as 2 guards gave pursuit, their boots hammering on ancient stone. Sho hurtled down a forgotten corridor and slammed into a wall of rune-etched stone, a door that had not opened in centuries. The stone gave way, and he tumbled into a chamber thick with the scent of age and dormant light. On a raised dais sat an old man in golden armor, legs crossed, beard trailing to the floor. A statue, Sho thought, until the runes flared.
Not a statue.
You have entered the Sea King's rest.
His voice isn't an echo. He's really alive after all this time.
I am Masaru no Kami, the last Sea King of the age before your own. For 3 centuries I lay in stasis, bound by runes, awaiting a soul desperate enough to break the seal. I possess a sword style that once cut down a corrupt sea emperor and reshaped the tides of power, but the training will break you if you are not strong, and the new sea emperors rule with absolute cruelty.
A weapon against gods. I could finally have a purpose.
Will you take up the blade and become my heir, knowing the world will hunt you for it?
I've been hunted my whole life for a handful of rice. At least this hunt would mean something.
Masaru's ancient hand lifted a simple wooden training sword from the shadows, offering it with the weight of a promise.
Then your first lesson begins now. Learn to hold the blade as if it were the last solid thing in a drowning world.
The next morning, on a rocky beach battered by salt spray, Masaru led Sho through the first sword forms, his ancient voice rising over the crash of waves.
Your feet must root like the sea stones. Your breath must match the tide again.
Each swing feels like pushing through water. My arms are already screaming.
You learn to swing a blade, but this style demands you cut what no ordinary steel can touch. Severance. You must cut ownership from that rock, fate from a thread, geometry from a wall. Without this, you cut nothing.
You want me to? Cut an idea? That's not possible.
He struck the rope with all his strength. The wood passed through like air, the knot untouched, the rock unmoved, the word ownership still hanging in the air.
Your will is too weak. You have never owned anything worth cutting. To sever, you must first understand what you are severing.
I was a fool to think I could be anything more than a thief.
For 7 days he tried and failed, the beach his witness. By dusk, he could no longer lift his arms, and the rope taunted him still.
Enough. Your body cannot learn what your spirit refuses. Go to the waterfall. Sit until the water teaches you stillness.
Under the freezing cascade, Sho fought to breathe, to think, until the thunder of water drowned every thought but the ache of his own hollow chest.
I've never owned anything. Not a home, not a name. Even the rice I stole wasn't mine. What does ownership even feel like?
Good. You have begun to sever yourself from the lie that strength is all. Feel the absence, Sho. That emptiness is your blade's edge. The first Sea King used this style only once to kill a tyrant. He swore then to teach only peaceful heirs, so the blade would guard, not conquer.
He killed only one, then chose peace. And now he's asking me to carry that same weight?
The blade is not for slaughter. It is a mirror, until you see what must be cut inside yourself. No outside bond will sever.
Sho returned to the beach at dawn, the wooden sword feeling lighter in his hands not because he was stronger, but because he had glimpsed what he was meant to cut, his eyes still glowing faintly with the reflection of the runes, fixed on the rope that had mocked him for so long.
Now, cut not the rope, but the lie that it owns you.
Sho inhaled the salt air and swung not at the rope, but at the hollow ache of a boy who had never been allowed to keep anything. The chain snapped without a sound. The bucket crashed to the sand, empty of its master. The word ownership dissolved into the wind.
You have cut your first concept. The path is open. Now you must walk it until your bones know every severance by heart.
3 years carved Shou's frame into a warrior's. His blade learned to cut fate, geometry, and fear. Each technique a deeper wound into the fabric of reality itself.
I can feel the weight of every emperor's claim in the wind. The sea is sick with tribute.
The emperors have built empires on divine extortion. They will see you as a threat. The moment you draw that blade, go quickly and quietly.
Shou knelt at the shrine threshold one last time. The boy who stole rice, now a man bearing the Sea King's sword.
You are the 7th heir. Shou, carry the style as a shield, not a spear. We will not meet again in this age.
Then the shrine fell silent, and Shou descended the island steps into a world ruled by emperors who had forgotten how to fear the sea. His training was complete. The world, however, had not been trained for him. The port city reeked of empire. Golden banners draped every wharf, and thin-faced children sold their names for grain.
Masaru warned me about divine extortion, but this is a cage built from prayer.
A pirate ship shuddered under boarding hooks. Its captain, a one-eyed man with a scar, was forced to his knees as a glowing contract unfurled above him.
That contract is just like the rope, a lie of ownership. I can cut it.
He moved like sea mist, one leap to the deck, then his blade sang through the air, severing the concept of binding debt. The chains fell from every pirate. The contract dissolved into embers, and for one breath, even the soldiers forgot to attack.
Whoever you are, that was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. Move, now.
They tumbled into a waiting dinghy, oars cutting the water as alarm bells shattered the morning.
I am Kaito. That was a Sea Emperor's tribute bond. They'll send the Goddess Empress's own shadows after you.
Good. Let them come. The sea has been quiet for 300 years.
In her coral throne room, Goddess Empress Yuriko stared into the sea scrying orb, watching the contract shatter 100 leagues away.
Find the heir of the Sea King. Bring me his head and that blade. Let no whisper of this reach the other emperors.
A day's sail westward, a hidden cove exhaled the scent of salt and stolen freedom. Kaito pulled Shou inside.
Every island pays tribute, gold, grain, their firstborns, all for protection from storms the emperors command themselves.
Yuriko's territory stretches across half the sea. She's not a goddess. She's a landlord with a trident.
They've turned prayer into currency. Resist, and they sink your island as divine punishment.
Before dawn, 7 shadows slipped from the palace, their orders sealed in blood.
Masaru didn't train me to kill a tyrant. He trained me to confront a system.
A scrap of white ghee thread found on the dock. The hunt had begun.
If they want a monster, I'll show them a style that cuts the legs from any throne.
The alley exhaled a whisper of steel. 7 shadows detached from the walls, their blades already curved with sea runes.
Kaito, behind me. They're warping the air.
Shou's blade carved a diagonal line that shouldn't have cut anything, but the geometry of the trap groaned and collapsed into droplets. 2 assassins fell with shattered wrists. The third found himself pressed to a wall, a glowing blade tip dimpling his throat.
Speak. What does Yuriko want with the Sea King style?
The captive's answer came in ragged gasps. Erase every trace, the scrolls, the name, and the 7th heir she knew was Masaru's successor.
She fears a blade that can cut divine contracts. That's why she sent 7 killers for 1 heir. Go back. Tell the Goddess Empress the heir isn't hiding, and I am taking your boat.
You are walking into her throne room alone? That's a tidal wave with no shore, boy.
If I don't face her, I am just a pirate with a sharp sword. Masaru's legacy deserves a storm it can actually calm.
The stolen boat sliced through calm waters until the sky bruised purple. The Goddess Empress had turned the sea into a weapon. Waves snapped the mast like a wishbone, and lightning forked toward him. not natural, but inscribed with Yuriko's sigil.
She's forcing me to cut or die. Fine, I'll cut the storm.
He slashed upward, not at the clouds, but at the concept of divine wrath woven into the storm. The lightning shattered against his blade and fell as harmless rain. The battered craft scraped the palace dock at dawn. 2 rows of golden spears lowered, their points aimed at his heart.
I didn't come to kill conscripts. Step aside, or watch your oaths unravel.
He traced a finger along the flat of his blade, and 3 guards dropped their spears, their enforced loyalty to the throne suddenly a meaningless echo. The rest charged. He flowed between them, sword hilt cracking ribs, not skulls. Silence fell. Sho walked past the groaning soldiers, through the coral archway, toward the throne room doors.
Masaru, this is the moment you prepared me for? The blade as a shield?
The doors groaned open. Yuriko sat coiled on her coral throne, a smile twitching on her lips as Sho stepped into the vast chamber.
The little heir survived my storm. I assume you haven't come to negotiate.
Your extortion is a blight. I came to cut it out.
Save your righteousness. I know the Sea King style better than you. It was forged by tyrants to subjugate emperors. Your Masaru was a butcher who failed.
That can't be true. But if it is, what have I been fighting for?
You are just his weapon, aimed at anyone who won't kneel.
Lies. Your empire starves children. Masaru's legacy isn't perfect, but yours is rot.
Sho's blade cleared the sheath with a sound like a wave breaking. Silver blue light lashed out, severing the invisible threads of command woven through the room. Yuriko's trident materialized in a flash of gold, and their auras collided. Storm against current.
I'll cut the truth from this fight.
Sho's sword traced a line through the air that had no name, and the word fate tied to Yuriko's throne unraveled like a sliced sail. Yuriko lunged with her trident, the prongs crackling with divine fury, but Sho severed the geometry of the attack. The weapon slid past him as if through mist.
Without fate, she's mortal. One more cut, and this ends.
He cornered her against the coral throne, the blade aimed not at flesh, but at the concept of life itself, the final severance. A translucent hand closed around his wrist. The blade stopped an inch from her crown.
Not this way, Sho.
Masaru, you said we'd never meet again.
The throne room fell into a held breath. Yuriko's crown had slipped. She stared at the ghost as if seeing her worst fear made flesh.
This blade was never meant to take life. It was forged to protect a truth you have not yet heard.
Then, what have I been training for? What is the real purpose?
Watch, see, the first Sea King, my own master, when he faced the tyrant emperor, Kuroshio.
In the vision, the first Sea King's blade pierced the tyrant's heart, once, clean and final. Then he fell to his knees before the other emperors.
He killed one to show the blade was real. Then he offered the style as a deterrent, a promise, keep the peace, or the next heir will come.
A deterrent, not a crusade.
For 300 years, 6 heirs carried the blade. None drew blood. They negotiated, reminded the emperors of the price, and then returned to teach one student.
Why didn't you tell me? I almost became an executioner.
You had to reach the edge yourself. Only a soul who chose not to kill could truly wield the style's peace.
A charming story. But the world won't bow to a ghost's sermon. Negotiation requires power, and I still hold the trident.
She's right about one thing. I need more than a story. I need to prove the deterrent still works.
The truth hung heavier than any blade. Sho's sword arm trembled, not from exhaustion, but from the weight of a choice that could reshape the sea. Yuriko seized the breath before the next word. Her trident lunged, a golden serpent aimed at Sho's unguarded chest. A ghostly blade met the prongs with a sound like fractured coral. Masaru's spirit held firm, repelling the strike an inch from Sho's heart.
Enough. I will not shed Imperial blood today. Not because I can't, but because the Sea King style was never meant to.
Weakness dressed as virtue. You think the other emperors will applaud this. They'll devour you.
Then I'll show them something more terrifying than death.
The style can do more than kill. You can sever the grip emperors, hold on fate itself. Make them mortal, not corpses.
Sho lifted his gaze to the shimmering threads that still bound the throne room. The technique was insane, cut fate from an entire assembly.
What are you doing? You can't sever what belongs to the divine.
You called it a tyrant's blade. Let's see if it can set even a tyrant free.
The throne is the nexus. Cut the threads of fate and authority that bind it. Then the emperor stands alone.
Sho ducked under another trident thrust, his vision bleeding silver blue as the hidden architecture of power became visible, veins of fate pulsing around the room. He swept the blade in a circle, carving through the air where no enemy stood, but a dozen shimmering tethers snapped at once. Yuriko's scream tore through the hall, not of pain, but of sudden emptiness. The divine weight she'd worn since birth evaporated. The guards staggered, their spears suddenly too heavy. Without the Emperor's divine command, they were only frightened men. The throne room dimmed as the crystal chandeliers flickered and died. Yuriko stood motionless, her trident clattering to the floor.
Now you are just a woman with a crown and a choice.
Kill me, then. I won't submit to a ghost's puppet.
This is the real test. Not the blade, but what I do with it when the threat is gone.
The Sea King style had done its work, not to destroy, but to level. Now Sho had to build something from the silence.
I could kill you. The style allows it, but the legacy is a charter, not a corpse.
Yuriko's eyes flicked to the sea scrying mirrors lining the walls. Behind the glass, other emperors watched, some smirking, some pale.
What? Terms.
A public demonstration witnessed by all. A signed scroll that limits divine interference in mortal affairs. No more tribute without consent.
If I refuse, they'll devour me. If I sign, I lose everything, but I live.
Refuse, and I leave you mortal. The other emperors will finish what I started.
And if I agree, what guarantee do I have that you won't simply kill me after?
The charter itself will be the deterrent. I'll teach one student, and she'll teach another. Break the terms, and the seventh heir's sword returns.
Fine. I'll sign your charter, but you'll give me a public ceremony. I won't be seen as a puppet.
Sho sheathed his blade. The tension did not break, but it bled into something fragile, something new. Word spread like a tide, carried by Kato and the freed pirates, whispered from cove to port. By noon, the palace steps swarmed with 1,000 faces. Yuriko stood beside Sho under the archway, her crown replaced but her eyes guarded, an empress forced to stage her own humbling.
Sho, I cannot linger. You are the heir now. Show them why we need no more kings.
Without him, I have to be the whole legacy. One cut to remind them all.
He stepped through the arch onto the wide coral balcony, wind whipping his gi. The crowd below stilled, sea scrying mirrors shimmered across distant empires. Emperors watching, some behind their hands, some gripping their thrones. Sho raised the slim curved blade, not in threat, but as a conductor raises a baton.
This is for the boy who stole rice, for every hand that ever trembled under an emperor's decree.
A collective breath caught in 1,000 throats. Even Yuriko, behind him, stopped breathing. The blade began its arc. His blade swept a wide circle, and a dozen glowing threads of fate and fear snapped into silver blue dust. 1,000 shoulders dropped an invisible weight. Pirates stood straight. A fisherman laughed without knowing why. In the scrying mirrors, a dozen emperors recoiled, smirks frozen into masks of terror. One emperor's throne cracked under his white-knuckled grip as his divine authority dissolved before his eyes. Sho sheathed his blade with a sharp click, the sound echoing across the silent crowd like a period at the end of a promise.
He spoke, voice carrying on the wind. The Sea King style exists to remind emperors who they serve.
Behind him, Yuriko swallowed the words like a fishbone, but did not interrupt.
Any emperor who forgets will face the 7th heir, or the 8th.
The mirrors shivered. Other emperors exchanged glances. No one spoke.
The deterrent is alive. The sea will remember.
Sho stepped forward until his toes touched the balcony's edge. Every face below was still turned upward.
The charter is simple. No pirate ship will pay tribute again. No emperor may claim a soul without consent. A mortal council will hear every appeal.
He turned back toward Yuriko and pointed at a glowing scroll that materialized in the air before her, empty but waiting.
Sign, Goddess Empress. Let every sea-scrying mirror record it.
Yuriko's hand trembled as she took the quill. In the mirrors, a few emperors lowered their heads in reluctant assent.
3 centuries of my ancestors, undone by a thief with a sword.
The quill touched parchment. A name, Yuriko, bled into the scroll in silver-blue flame. The scroll ignited, its words burning into the sky. 1,000 throats unleashed a roar that shook the coral spires. In every empire, the mirrors flashed the charter's words. For the first time in 300 years, the sea belonged to no one.
The 7th heir's work is done. I am not your king. I am a teacher. The style will live in 1 student per generation, keeping emperors honest.
A murmur rippled through the crowd. Not disappointment, but awe. No heir had ever refused a throne.
The charter is binding. I, Yuriko, affirm it before the assembled empires.
In the harbor, Kaito's ship unfurled its black sails. No chain, no shining contract above the mast.
Full canvas. Let the sea remember the first breath of freedom.
Sho walked away from the Coral Palace, a worn pirate cape draped over his gi, the charter's light fading behind him.
No throne, no title, just the promise of a quiet beach and a student someday.
From the balcony, Yuriko watched him until his white gi became a dot on the shore and felt, for the first time, the weight of a promise she could not break. The pirate ship rounded the headland, its wake a silver scar on the water. The first tribute-free voyage in a century. Sho walked on toward a different horizon. The Sea King heir had conquered nothing and changed everything. Sunset found him on a nameless island with a gentle shore. The weight of the charter did not follow him here. He built a hut from driftwood and taught the waves to be his clock.
No emperors, no contracts, just the sea and a quiet promise.
10 tides later, a small boat scraped the sand. A girl with short blue hair and a determined gaze stepped onto his shore. She had heard the tale whispered in dockside taverns, the Sea King heir who could cut the sky.
The same hunger I once had, not for rice, but for purpose.
He took a simple wooden training sword from his hut and placed it in her waiting hands.
First lesson, you must cut your own doubt before you can cut anything else.
The girl's knuckles whitened on the hilt. A faint glimmer, almost silver, danced at the wood's edge. The cycle had not broken. On a forgotten island, the Sea King style drew its first breath of a new generation. The girl's wooden sword passed through the rope again and again. Each swing a ghost of a boy who once stole rice.
You are hitting the rope. You need to cut the emptiness inside that lets it own you.
She closed her eyes, and the beach fell away. Her chest echoed the hollow he once described. The wooden blade moved, slowly, then faster, and the rope fell away without a sound. A distant sail cut across the horizon. A pirate ship, free of any golden chain, its wake a silver line of proof.
She'll carry it forward. The style isn't a sword, it's a promise.
Above the clouds, a shape curved like a knowing smile, the faintest echo of golden armor. Sho touched his chest where the phantom weight of a stolen rice bag once sat. It was finally light, The girl picked up the wooden sword again, her knuckles already whitening, ready for the next scar. On a nameless island, the Sea King style did not fade. It simply taught the tide to remember. Years passed unnoticed on the nameless island. The blue-haired girl, now a woman, stood where Sho once stood, correcting a small child's grip on a wooden sword. Sho watched from the hut's porch, his hair all silver now, his sword resting across his knees. The child's wooden sword struck a chain link, and it fell apart. The woman's eyes shone with quiet pride. She laughed and ruffled the child's hair. The child protested, but lowered the sword.
The same warmth I felt when Masaru handed me my first blade. You did well, master.
The hut, the beach, the style, all had endured. The charter, too, had survived the decades, a quiet monument in a world that forgot how close it came to divine chains. In a museum, the charter scroll glowed faintly under glass, its silver-blue script still pulsing, and a smile not quite of this world lingered in the reflection.